Hello, this is Tom Knox. I'm the founder of CareFamily, and I want to welcome you to this webinar on how to help keep seniors healthy and at home. And I think this will be a good presentation for adult children who are helping to navigate the needs of their parents, and for caregivers who are working directly with seniors on how to keep people independent and at home and with the best type of care. So we're looking forward to moving on and talking about some very specific points on keeping people healthy. So let's start with why maintaining a healthy lifestyle is so important for seniors. Well, first of all, it's their overall physical well-being. We want to make sure that when people are at home, that they have a lower probability of those chronic illnesses that creep up and get to them. Making sure that they have a very positive outlook on life. You know, we've talked in some of the other things we've had about how depression really plays into the overall health, wellness, appetite, even balance, visit to the ER, so we want to make sure we're hitting those. Better relationships with family and friends. Maintaining that healthy lifestyle means staying connected as much as possible. It could be getting out of the house, could be having visitors, or even using some tools now people can use, even seniors, on the internet to connect with friends and loved ones. The peace of mind for the family. Ultimately, as the adult child, you're trying to balance the needs of your parents within your own needs. And if you can get as much peace of mind as possible, both for your senior loved ones and for yourself, the family dynamic's a lot better. Being healthy can also reduce falls. Falls are what lead to hospitalizations, ER visits, nursing home stays, longer short term, and a loss of independence. So if we could focus on that healthy lifestyle and healthy aspects, we can reduce the falls. We want to keep people at home as long as possible. And the next one would be less medications. You know, when we go out and do home assessments of people, you could see as much as 19, 20 different medications. But those who are trying to do the little things even to keep a healthier lifestyle can usually be on a lot less medications. And we find across the board that the people on less medications usually have better outcomes, a better lifestyle situation, less falls, less ER visits. So again, we want to limit those medications, and a healthy lifestyle can really help with that. We talked about making sure we have fewer hospitalizations, ER visits, and ultimately a longer lifespan. And lifespan's important, but also the quality of life is equally important. So let's make sure, to start, we encourage a healthy diet. Now with seniors, it could be a little bit tougher. Oftentimes they're making their own meals. They're depressed, so they may not eat the way they should if they're in a certain situation. Sometimes out of ease, they're eating processed food or frozen foods. So we want to make sure that we're encouraging as much as possible for steady, good meals, and also fluid intake, which is consistent. Seniors who eat a couple meals throughout the day and making sure they're drinking juice or water or even coffee, but that they're getting their fluid intake is really, really important. Excuse me. So the diet should keep cholesterol low as much as possible. I think if people are later in years, controlling cholesterol is important, but I think the goals are the same about a healthy diet. You know, seniors often default to frozen or processed foods, all sweets. You know, just to give you a personal example, my grandfather, who was always eating very, very healthy, currently in his late 90s, always ate a lot of greens, big olive oil, garlic kind of guy. Well, as he was getting older, maybe a little more depressed, didn't want to cook, you know, he said, Tom, now I go and I eat a Krispy Kreme donut every morning, and, you know, I may go get a hot dog over at the mall, and, you know, nothing wrong with that occasionally, but he was getting a steady diet of that. We also see people who just don't feel like they can cook or don't want to cook anymore, eating frozen dinners. Now, frozen dinners can be okay occasionally as a stopgap or, you know, for some meals, but to make it a consistent part of the overall diet can be a real challenge. So you want to watch the amount of frozen foods. Then you have others who really they have a sweet tooth, and that's what they eat. You know, I've been to see a lot of seniors. It's amazing to see the amount of sweets and amount of chips, processed foods, you know, shakes, ice cream. And I guess at some stage when people just aren't eating and they need nutrition of some sort, eating a bowl of ice cream or eating some cookies and they're getting some nutrition is okay. But as you're working on continuing to remain healthy and independent, you want to make sure that you're watching the amount of sugar intake. And when you're assessing your parents or someone you work with, kind of watch their eating habits over a couple days and look for these important signs. If you do this, the good diet and the healthy lifestyle has been proven to limit the onset of some dementia, keeping your memory strong, heart disease, and other diseases can be kept away with a healthy diet at any age. So we want to make sure that we continue to encourage this kind of healthy behavior. The diet should keep blood pressure down. Blood pressure is obviously a huge risk. Both low and blood pressure can have falls take place. So we want to watch and decrease the risk of heart attack, heart disease, kidney, stroke. So what we find is, excuse me, a lot of seniors put a lot of salt on food. They're drinking a lot of caffeine. Even alcohol can be an issue that we want to watch out for. And, a lot of seniors themselves have been used to a couple glasses of scotch every night or wine, some maybe even issues of alcoholism over time. I do want to point that out because that's more common than you would think. And in those cases, we have moved people onto some of the non-alcoholic types of beverages, non-alcoholic beer, non-alcoholic wine, and interjecting that within the body of the day actually is a very valuable thing to do. So you want to watch those kind of things in keeping blood pressure down. As much as possible, include a lot of vegetables and even vitamins. We want to keep the immune system strong, and when people are taking vitamins and they're trying to eat that way with fresh food, they're normally going to make other things in their life more healthy. If they're taking all those vitamins, they're not going to eat, half a box of cookies in a day. So you want to encourage those healthy habits. This goes for any of us, even those of us who still have grandparents alive. It's really important part of life ongoing. So you want to encourage those. And a good tip to remember is that frozen foods may be tough at times to make a steady diet out of it, but frozen fruits and vegetables can often be pretty good. You can get frozen, cranberries or strawberries. Very easy to serve. Let them thaw and eat, and something to be kept in the house. Same with vegetables. Brussels sprouts and broccoli and string beans and other types of frozen vegetables can be easy to keep around. Frozen spinach that's easy for a caregiver to make, or hopefully the senior to make, whether it's thrown in the microwave or putting it in some boiling water and with some olive oil or butter. But you want to make sure you're encouraging that as much as possible. And even if you can't get out and get fresh stuff, these are really good alternatives. We talked about the alcohol intake. For some, it's perfectly fine. And if they're used to having a couple drinks a day or at night and they have the right supervision and they're safe, that's fine. I think what we want to watch is if someone has been an alcoholic and later in life, it's very hard to control a senior in that setting. And so we've found with offering care that it's only done if people move to non-alcoholic beer and wine, or at least interject that throughout the day and giving them maybe one drink, regular drink, because you also want to watch people having withdrawals. So you want to talk to your doctor about that very clearly, and you want to make sure that's handled right. But alcoholism in seniors can be common like it can in the rest of the population. Remember, in all of it, balance is important. You want to make sure a senior is able to eat some of the foods they still enjoy while keeping an overall healthy diet. And, there's also swings, like I said, where getting some food intake is important as anything else. Some people will take Ensure when they're not eating. Some people will have a milkshake. You got to balance it all, but you want to watch those bad habits from happening. And again, you want to watch it, make sure it's not just happening because they're depressed or they're alone, and so they're just defaulting to bad eating patterns. So there's ways to approach it that we're going to talk about. Let's talk about exercise a little bit, which is obviously a part of healthy living. First of all, there's some basic stuff people can do even from their chair. I've gone over and seen seniors who are in their chair who put a small beanbag around their foot. and are lifting their leg, 10 or 20 times, 3 times a day, or maybe have a very, very small soup can in their hand, and they're doing 20, curls in their hand, or getting their arms over their head. There are things that people can do from their chair. And those are things that can be researched. You can talk to your doctor about. Or, if you want to get in touch with a physical therapist, they can maybe take one visit out to your house and write up a little plan that doesn't have to be prescribed by a doctor or paid for by insurance, but just some steady exercise that can go along. Walking is always good. We find that on nice days, the more you can encourage a senior to get out, even with their walker, and just walk a bit, is very helpful. Excuse me. Or if they go out to a mall or an indoor place that has a lot of room and have them walk around there, that's a great way of getting people out and doing exercising. Walking would be exceptional. A lot of community centers offer excellent opportunities for water classes that are senior-based. They're low impact. And there's even floating assistance, a bubble in a sense. Or, a lot of people in water can sustain their balance and can do some basic water aerobics. And that is a great way to get out. It's exhilarating. It's exercise. I've just noticed personally that people who seem to swim and are doing their community center-based water exercises are incredibly healthy and not on a lot of meds. And a lot of them started it much later in life. So it's kind of neat to see. There's also online boot camps that have very low impact exercises. There's one I've seen called Boot Camp Hub that allows you to sign up for some exercises online. It doesn't involve weights, and you can do it as vigorous or light as possible. But don't be afraid to look online for some videos that can encourage the senior to do 10 to 15 minutes of steady exercises. Now, again, you want to talk to your doctor. You want to make sure it's healthy enough, but these are great ways of doing it. And what are the benefits of all this? Again, lower cholesterol and blood pressure, strengthening the heart. There's no doubt that there's a assimilation between exercising, eating right, and then happiness, motivation, lack of depression. We want to see if the doctor's okay with it, if you put yourself in the best position as possible to get off some of your medications. I think that a lot of times we see seniors who are getting multiple medications from multiple physicians, and a lot of times doctors are afraid to take you off certain meds. But if you're proactive about your health, you're asking about the medications, you're bringing the med list into the doctor, hey, ask if you can get off of any of them. I mean, that's a possibility. And some of the side effects that you may be experiencing may go away. Obviously, the appetite's going to be better. If you're living that healthy lifestyle, you're getting a little bit of exercise, you're going to feel like you're going to want to eat right, and you're going to want to eat. So that's all very good. And then again, I go back to less falls because that's the way people ultimately lose their independence. Let's talk about socialization and participate in activities. We talked about the eating, we talked about the exercise, but socialization and participation in activities is extremely important. So staying engaged, that time with family and friends, make sure people are getting visits. Make sure people are getting daily phone calls if possible. That means a lot to a senior when they're home, and the highlight of their day may be that phone call. I remember my grandparents always talked about the Sunday afternoon call from my uncle who lived in Ohio, and they were in New Jersey, and thinking, man, it was one phone call a week, and thinking that can't mean much. But I remember now thinking about it, how much it meant to them to get almost an anchored-in phone call from a loved one. Clubs or recreational events are really important if the person's willing to do it. My uncle, great uncle actually, fought in World War II. And about 10 years ago, my mom had bought him a CB hat. It was the group he fought with in World War II, the Seabees. And that hat changed his life. It gave him access to people in a club, a fraternity of men who he'd never known, but who saw his hat. And all of a sudden they were going to Hardee's once a week and drinking coffee and having a biscuit and talking about old times. The guy totally changed. And it's important if you could get people in clubs that may pertain to what they do, support groups or recreational activities. These community centers are now offering a lot more with seniors. It can really increase their socialization and overall health. Skyping is a great tool. Recently, for Christmas, we got my children's grandmother, my mother-in-law, a Surface. And Skype was so easy to activate on the Surface that now, even though she hasn't been well at times, she's in bed and she is visiting with her grandkids across the state. And it's amazing the state of mind difference and change I've seen in her. In fact, when we went to visit her after Christmas, she cried about the Surface and how it's opened up a whole new world to her. So really important. Look for those activities they enjoy, especially to keep the mind active. You know, you want to continue to exercise the brain like you would anything else. A lot of people later in life have taken on things like Sudoku, crossword puzzles, continue to get them large print crossword puzzles that maybe are not as difficult. Maybe, you know, they make some versions that were produced 20 years ago that may have facts and figures that pertain to an era that they may more remember or, you know, be able to do. Reading books on tape, all those things are activities that are important to incorporate in this. And the overall benefit of the socialization and activities is that less chance of depression, which we're looking for. The importance of hygiene, toileting, and overall hygiene with toileting and bathing. It's amazing how many seniors end up getting sick and have signs of almost sudden dementia that is misdiagnosed, and by the family members, by caregivers, even when people go to the doctor. And it's because the hygiene or lack thereof has led to urinary tract infections that do lead to cognitive changes, that do lead to severe health changes, that do lead to dehydration. So you want to make sure that hygiene is at the forefront of staying healthy. Same with oral care, making sure that teeth are taken care of, teeth that are falling out or somehow treated or replaced, because this does lead and has been linked to furthering of dementia or Alzheimer's and even heart disease. So that's really important you pay attention to that. And seniors often get physically uncomfortable bathing or toileting, and let me talk about that a little bit. We find that some seniors later in life, especially when there's been maybe an early onset of dementia or Alzheimer's, get very uncomfortable taking a shower. And it's usually what we found was the agitation of it. It created agitation. So for some, I'm not recommending this, you talk to your doctor, needed a little bit of medication to calm them on bath days because it was very uncomfortable for them. The second was they felt cold. And when we got to the root of why people wouldn't bathe, they said, I'm feeling very cold. So we made sure that during certain times we turned up the heat a little higher. We got a safe space heater, a safe one that was a little outside the bathroom door that heated the room somewhat before the shower took place. And the other side is just they're afraid of a fall. So they're not going to tell you this, but if you notice that, mom doesn't seem to be bathing as much, and she's saying, I'm okay, I haven't felt well, or I really did, or I'm giving myself kind of a bird bath, which some people describe. It's really because they have felt it's an unsafe environment. They don't feel secure, and they're reluctant to ask for a caregiver. But you want to kind of push that and make sure that the hygiene is there. And seniors may be more comfortable with a caregiver helping in this area. They're afraid to ask the son or daughter. They're often scared to ask for a caregiver too, but after you talk it through and say, look, let's just try it. Let's have her come over a couple times and try it. But, it's very important you get a bath and everything else and get it going. There's a comfort level there that once you kind of break through that and they know they're getting a good shower and a good bath and getting their hair washed, they feel better. They kind of get past that concern. Benefits of home care and all this. Well, first of all, if you want help with the bathing, the dressing, the toileting, the hygiene, the home-cooked meals, the shopping and the errands, the helping them do some exercising, helping them get out and walk, helping them bring them to the mall so they can walk around. Even the social parts, the getting out to clubs, and the socialization with the caregiver. Well, the benefits of home care is they reduce the stress of the senior and the family because they're taking a lead in these things. Sometimes it's easier for a caregiver to take a lead in some of these areas than it is for the actual family member. So you can build a care plan around some of the things I discussed, and a caregiver a couple times a week is a perfect way of handling this. It decreases risk and slows progression of more serious illnesses due to ongoing monitoring and care. So, if you can get a caregiver in there early enough, before a fall, before appetite changes, before medications are being taken the wrong way, you're going to have a healthier runway moving forward, and even a little bit of care now can prevent a lot of care or a move to a facility later on, and that's what you want. And it supports you in maintaining all areas of health for the senior. You know, the diet, again, we talked about, the home-cooked meals, the shopping, the exercising, the socialization activities, and the companionship of this caregiver and getting him engaged in others, even working the computer for him so they can get on Skype. And the hygiene, which can minimize UTIs and other problems, is really very important. I'll finish with saying that I've experienced a lot of this firsthand. My grandmother ended up being in a facility because of some health reasons and had a really tough experience. And so we've learned how to identify the best caregivers, get them in the home, walk along with the family on the kind of tools they need. Because the ultimate goal in all this, as I said earlier, is the peace of mind of you, peace of mind of the senior who's getting care or needs help, and the family dynamic being better with independence, peace of mind, and the independence that everybody's looking for. So we thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again, and we hope you join us in carefamily.com for more resources, more advice, more webinars, and also if you need a caregiver that'll fit your needs. So thank you for joining us.